What is up, dudes and dudettes? Welcome to another Gringo Nation live stream. This time we're coming to you from Durrës in Albania. This is the Albanian coast. Spending the weekend here in Durrës, which is only about a half hour from the capital, Tirana. And then I will be headed to Vlore. Hey, Nikki! Pleasure having you here on the other side this time. Okay, and I will be headed to Vlore, where I will spend a month. And today we're going to talk about the top 10 overrated travel destinations. Those places that people tell you, oh, you just got to go here, you got to go there. And once you get there, you're quite disappointed. I'm sure we've all had those experiences before. So today, because Nikki is not here, and I totally wussed out on doing the live stream on my own, I am going to have the pleasure of receiving my good friend Edu from another YouTube channel called Ready Go Expat. It's going to be a pleasure having him here. We'll get him on in a second. But first, I want to make a couple of announcements. The first one being that I've been listening to this podcast called YouTube Creators Hub Podcast. I listen to it weekly. Nikki knows this to be true. And it's quite inspiring. Dusty Porter, the host, every week receives a YouTube creator and he talks to them for half an hour about their journey and about their growth and what they've been doing on YouTube and their message and things like that. And I listen to it every week. And at the end of every show, he says that you can kind of sign yourself up and enroll to be on the show. And I figured, why not? So I signed up. That was about like 3-4 months ago. And I've been waiting for that email to arrive, but it has finally arrived. I recorded with him like 3 days ago. And that podcast is going live next week on Friday. So I'm very excited about that. So you can kind of follow the podcast now if you'd like. It's called YouTube Creators Hub Podcast. The host is Dusty Porter, and Gringo Nation is going to be on there next week on Friday. So yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah, it was really fun to be on. It was kind of it was nerve-wracking, but I got through it, and I think I did an okay job in the end. The next announcement. Oh, I got to change my banner here. What am I doing? Announcements. So official. All right. The next announcement is that I've created a Facebook group called Nomad Nation. Anyone can join. If you're interested in speaking with like-minded people about travel destinations, about overrated travel destinations, about where you've been, where you want to go, Nomad Nation might be a good place for you. So all you have to do is search on Facebook for Nomad Nation. I'm there, Nikki's there, Edu will be there shortly, I hope. I have invited him. And yeah, we've got it's only 1 week old. There's about 15 other travelers in there. And I think it's going to be a great community for people that prioritize travel in their life, as we all do. So I am going to get this show on the road. So today we are going to talk about the top 10 overrated travel destinations. I myself have made a list of 5, and Edu has made a list of 5 as well. Without further ado, we are going to meet Edu. Let me get him on the podcast here. It's not a podcast, it's a live stream. So, Edu, what's up, my buddy?
Hey, Gringo. Hello, everyone. Hey, Nikki.
How's it going?
I'm good. It's so weird to see you without Nikki on a live.
I know, it's weird for me too, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. It's really cool that I've never done a live on YouTube, so this is my first time, ever. Hey, Nikki. So
I'm glad to be popping your live stream cherry.
It's true. But yeah, I'm really happy, really excited. I'm a bit nervous though, by the way.
Oh, please don't be nervous. I mean, all you have to do is look at my background to see that it's not professional at all. And then that'll make you feel better. Oh, hey Murad, how's it going? Greetings. Greetings to Istanbul. Thank you for being here. Okay, so Edu, where are you right now?
I am in Recife. It's a city in the northeastern region of Brazil. It's my hometown. So after living for nearly 5 years in China, I came back to Brazil just before the pandemic started. And I've still been here, but honestly, I don't know where I'm going to go next. So yeah.
Right. So you said it's your hometown, and you don't know exactly what you're doing. Maybe you'll go to Portugal. Maybe you won't. I guess we're going to talk more about this later.
Yes. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know.
Okay. And Edu, you have a YouTube channel and a podcast, right?
Yes, guys, if you want to see some content about like travel destinations, but mainly interviews with expats, listen to people from many different countries. It's yeah, go to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/ready go expat. And if you want to listen to episodes where I mostly interview foreigners, I mean, expats, immigrants, whatever, that live in many different countries, go to just type Expats Exposed on your favorite podcast platform and you'll find me.
Yeah, I've been listening to the podcast a lot recently. And when are we getting season two? Any ideas of when that's coming?
Yeah, today actually, this morning, season two
Really?
started. Yes, I need, yeah, I need to send Nikki an email actually. But yeah, because I'm gonna start now interviewing the people who are gonna be on season two. So the first episode is about what do you think the world will be like after the pandemic. So I got um, voice messages from 7 people, different people in different countries, and we discussed that because it's still I don't know in Albania where you are right now. I don't know how the situation is there, but here in Brazil, I just saw that yesterday. Oh, more than 1,400 people died. So it's not a joke, you know. And so the idea is to listen to people in different cities. Like there's a friend in London, and there apparently things are kind of back to normal already. But then in Seattle, not so much. So yeah, it's good. It's a good episode, 25 minutes, and it's really cool.
Can't wait. Can't wait to hear it. And because you asked, here in Albania, it seems like there was never a pandemic to begin with. It's like just, I went to the beach today and it was like Copacabana, you know? So, yeah. Well, thanks for being on, Edu. And I think we're going to get this show on the road. You ready?
Yes.
All right. So, Edu, what is your number 5 overrated travel destination? And
Okay.
well, I'll let you explain. Go on.
Yeah, I just want to say something before I start. Like a lot of these are all places that I've been to, either a city or a tourist attraction. And I hope we don't get a lot of haters here.
So
After
actually, I'm glad you mentioned this because, yeah, obviously this is from our own perspective. On my list of 5, I have 4 places that I've been to, but I also put in one that I haven't been to because I did do some research online, and this one does get a lot of hate. So I would kind of like to prepare people if they ever thought about going to this place. But yeah, this is our own view, our own perspective. You may think differently or not, and that's cool. And we're here to talk about it. So no fear, my friend. Tell us, please.
All right, and just before I tell you my first number 5. I just want to say that we don't know each other's list. Okay, so I don't know what Art wrote. He doesn't know what I wrote, so I might disagree with him. He might disagree with me, which is totally
I
fine.
hope that happens.
Me too. Yeah.
And also, we might have the same item on both lists, and it'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see why they're on each other's list.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, so number 5 in my list is actually a tourist attraction. When I went to Amsterdam, it was like kind of like 18 years ago. I spent one afternoon at the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
Oh, okay.
And I just hate myself for that because I paid so much money, and it's really like Amsterdam has amazing museums. and I didn't get to go to the best ones. I spent one afternoon in this museum called the Madame Tussauds. There's also the Madame Tussauds in London, in Paris, I think, in Shanghai. So it's all over the world. But guys, it's not like you go in and you're like, oh, cool, that's Jennifer Lopez. Oh, cool, that's Barack Obama. But then you're like, I don't know how much it is, but at that time I think it was like something like 16 euros, and that was like a lot of money for something
that is
you're
a
like.
lot.
Yeah, so definitely my number 5 is Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
It's funny because when we were in, I think, Turkey recently, Nikki and I were walking down the street and we ran into Madame Tussauds, and I admitted to her that even though it's like the worst, it's kind of like equal to the Hard Rock Cafe of places you shouldn't go to while traveling. But I think I admitted to her that I often, depending on the statue, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool. Like you get to see how tall they are and stuff like that. But yeah, and then Nikki said that's so much 18 years ago. Yeah. So how old were you when you went 18 years ago? I'm sorry to put you on the spot with your age. But
yeah, I was 21, 22 maybe. Yeah.
It's a good age to go to Amsterdam, I guess.
Yeah. But I was on my own, so I kind of like kept to like museums and stuff like that, you know. I didn't go to the like hardcore Amsterdam.
And otherwise, did you enjoy Amsterdam?
I love it. That's definitely somewhere everyone needs to go to. Like, it's an amazing city. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like it. I wish I saw The Hague in Amsterdam and the Netherlands as well, and I was hoping to see some other cities like Rotterdam and stuff, but unfortunately I didn't have so much time. Hey, Mary Day, how is it going? Nice to have you here. Okay, Edu. Well, thank you. That was an interesting one. I liked your number 5, and I guess I didn't mention that me and Edu are both Brazilian. So he is my fellow Brazilian mate and fellow YouTuber, and he does the podcast. I don't do podcasts, but we have a lot in common. Okay, so Mary Day says she's from Russia, never been anywhere except for Georgia. Oh, you have to choose where to move. Interesting. Well, don't move to these places that we talk about today. Okay. Edu, I want this to be formal. So can you ask me what my number 5 is?
Sure. Hey, Art. What's your number 5?
All right. Let me tell you, since you want to know so much. Number 5 on my list, and I put this at number 5 because it is the only one that I haven't been to. So it's kind of unfair for me to speak about a place that I haven't been to. And honestly, I do want to go there. I think, you have to see a place with your own eyes, see what you think of it. But let's just say it wouldn't be my priority when visiting Italy. So that's hint number 1. And I have been to Italy, but I've never been here. And that city is Venice. Have you been to Venice?
Yes.
You have? Interesting. Okay, so let me just say what I think, and then you can chime in, okay? So from what I've read, it's kind of dirty, grimy. The gondola thing is total ripoff. Like, it's kind of cool, like for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. But as in a lot of touristy places, the workers just kind of see the tourists with the dollar signs in their eyes. And it's kind of dirty. Yeah, I've already mentioned that. Oh, Nikki's saying that Bonita's very upset because she loves it. Well, maybe Bonita can chime in too. I would really like that. But and I've heard that there's a lot of like day trippers from other cities in Italy, and they go there like in the morning to like, and then it just gets totally jam packed. And then around the evening, people start to leave, and it gets a little better. But basically, there's not much to do or see. You just feel kind of frustrated all day. Nikki says she's been to Venice a few times and it's nice, but there are just too many people. And yeah, and that's one of the things that I just really don't like about touristy places, when you can hardly breathe, So Edu, you have been there. Please tell me what you think.
Yeah, I have to disagree with you, but
Okay.
I have to say that I went there. It was right after New Year's Eve, so it was something like January 2nd or 3rd. It was winter, and I did exactly what you said. Like I went there for the day, and then came back to like Milano. I was staying in Milano. It was like 3 hours, but you're right. To spend a night there and stuff, the hotels are extremely expensive. So there is a city not far from there that I think it's called Treviso. It's where people actually sleep and then they spend the day in Venice and go back. I am gonna disagree with that because I also read these negative comments, but when I got there, it wasn't dirty at all. The canals were actually beautiful. It was not crowded, maybe because it was winter, and it's a place like I've never seen anywhere like anything like that in the world before. Like
Yeah, it
it's
is a
really a
very
city
unique
with
place.
canals. It is super unique. Like the piazza. I think it's called Piazza San Marco. It's so beautiful, and then it's just amazing. Like I wouldn't stay there for like 2 or 3 days, but I think for 1 day trip, it's a beautiful place. Yes.
And I'm sorry, you said you spent like just a day there, or did you sleep there?
I didn't sleep there. We took the train back to Milano and we slept in a hotel in Milano.
Okay. Um, yeah. So Nikki says it's not dirty. You can hear Ciao Bella every every day. Yeah, and that's what you want in a travel destination, to hear Ciao Bella everywhere you go. I'm very happy to hear that, Edu, because I think it's a place that if I do get the opportunity to go, I am going to go. But I guess I won't spend too much time there. And Nikki says the art biennale is very nice too. So
Mm.
I've learned something today. Thank you, folks. Okay, so we are gonna jump on to round 4. Look, I've made these, very high-tech banners that say round 4, round 3. Okay, so Edu, what is your number 4 overrated travel destination?
It is one of the cities in the world that received the highest number of international tourists. If not, I think Paris is number 1 and this is number 2, which is Bangkok.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm gonna say Bangkok because I lived in China and I wanted to travel around Southeast Asia, and everybody, like the whole world, talks about Thailand. The whole world talks about Bangkok. Oh, it's such an amazing city. It was packed with tourists, especially that road. I forgot the name of the road, but it's the road where they shot the movie The Beach with DiCaprio, and it's a road.
Koh San Road?
Koh Sam.
Yeah, I think it's Koh San Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nikki Road there. Nikki Road there. Yeah, and like I tried a scorpion there. Very touristy. You just things that you have to do. But I thought the city itself, it's super crazy. Like even like to walk from one road to another, one tourist attraction to another. People want to rip you off everywhere. Like people give you people on the street, they gave you like the wrong information on purpose, or they said, "Oh, I can take you there. Just pay me this." The taxis, like no taxis use the taximeter. It was just like, okay, it would take. I want 100 baht for that. I want 200 for that. So it was not that safe. I didn't feel safe there walking at night. So I mean, it is somewhere that I don't regret going to because of the temples, the Buddhist temples, and the attractions there. That's amazing. But it's not somewhere I'd consider like spending a month or even going back. Like, honestly, I think Thailand has a lot of different islands. Like, I went to Phi Phi Island, where they have Maya Bay and stuff. And yes, that is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, Thailand has a lot of beautiful places, yoga retreats, beautiful beaches, like paradise. But Bangkok is just not a place I want to go back to.
Right. I have been to Bangkok as well. I didn't spend too much time there. I went to Koh San Road. I did the whole partying thing. I ate scorpions. I inhaled balloons. I did the whole thing. I was just an embarrassing party tourist. But I remember not. I remember walking was very difficult, as you mentioned. The taxis. I think there's just like one one company that you can kind of trust that use the taximeter, and the others are really dodgy. I didn't really have time or I was too hungover to go to the temples and things like that. But what I have heard about Bangkok is that it's kind of a place like Sao Paulo, which a lot of people kind of talk bad about. But when you live where like you avoid all those touristy places, you know where to go, you know where you shouldn't go, you know where it's safe, you know where it's not safe. And then I think the more time you spend there, the more you like it because the more you understand it. That said, I partly agree with you. I would go back to Bangkok to try to see it in a new light and do different things. But I can see how if someone was like traveling around Thailand, there's definitely many other places they should be visiting besides Bangkok. So
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. All right.
Cool. What is your number 4 then?
Okay, my number 4 is a place that I visited in Europe. I also didn't spend too much time there. I think I was there for like 5 days. And it's the capital of Belgium. You know the capital.
Oh, wow, Brussels.
Yeah. Jasmine says the lady boys can be very aggressive in Bangkok. That's
Yes.
true.
Yes.
I mean, they can be very aggressive anyway. I think Nikki has a good lady boy story that she can tell on her channel. Nikki posts travel stuff. Yeah. So Brussels. You've been to Brussels?
Yes.
Right. So Brussels has been considered like one of the most boring European cities. And I kind of agree with that. Like there wasn't much to do. Some parts were beautiful. Like I think it's called like the Grand Plaza or something like that, where it's like everything is gold and Baroque architecture and things like that. And, you know, it's quite a sight to see. You look around and it's beautiful. And then 10 minutes later, you're like, all right, what do we do now? Should we go have like beer at the nearest bar and then pay, 10 euros because it's extremely expensive. Also, because it is an expensive city, I feel like there are a lot of like pickpocketers and things like that, and people trying to, steal your backpack and stuff like that. So you have to be careful. Some of the tourist sites, like so, basically, Belgium is known for like chocolate. I can't stand that they're like one of their most famous foods is like a cone of French fries. Like that's the most boring thing I've heard of. And some of those tourist sites are just a joke. Like the statue of the little baby peeing, he's like that big, and it's like you kind of walk past it and you're like, wait, it says on the map that it's here, and then you look around and everyone's looking at this like tiny little statue. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on Brussels. I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, the funny thing is that it almost made it to my list.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, I'm kind of glad it did
almost.
in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, almost. I went there, and again, like 15, 16 years ago, I went up the atomium. You know the atomium?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's like this gigantic atom, like atom particles, and then you go from one ball to another, and there are these escalators, and then you get the beautiful view from the city. I went there, and that was interesting, but I agree with you. It's boring. It's expensive. I didn't think the people were that friendly, to be very honest, compared to other cities. Yeah, and I had just left Rome. So when you leave Rome and then you go and see, you're like, oh gosh. But I have to say something. Not very far from Brussels, there is a city called Bruges. Right. I think it's spelled.
I was gonna get to that. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's spelled Bruge, and that is a small, charming medieval city with very friendly people. I stayed in a B&B there, bed and breakfast. It's such a lovely lady, and I totally recommend this city. For 2 days, I just had the time of my life there. I walked everywhere. I didn't need a car. I didn't need the bus. So go to Bruges instead of Brussels.
like go to Bruges, and also I haven't been to Bruges. I'd love to go, which I've heard good things about too. So those can be two good options for someone thinking about going to Brussels. But obviously, go to Brussels and so you can have your own opinion about the place. Also, there's a movie called In Bruges. Have you seen that?
No.
It's with Colin Farrell. It's an older movie, but I like it very much. Okay, Nikki agrees with you. All right, so I gotta get on my banners here. Totally, Nikki was pretty good with the banners. Now I gotta do it on my own. Plus, I'm sorry if I don't know if my internet's like. Okay, round 3. Oh yeah, Bruges is pretty expensive. Yarmage says. Yeah, I think Belgium as a whole is quite expensive. Yeah, he's seen the movie. Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. That's right. Great movie. Okay. So, Edu, what is your number 3 most overrated travel destination?
All right. So it's actually a tourist attraction in one of my favorite cities in the world. Okay. I think the city that I've visited the most in the world is London. I have a lot of friends there. I love the city. But the London Eye is just a ripoff, and it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know why I hopped on that wheel, because it's so much money. Like, when they open it, I was there the year they opened it. When they opened it, and that was 15 plus years ago, it was 16 pounds. Now, I think the last time I went to London was 2 years ago. It was like 20 something pounds. It's a lot of money. And guys, not very far from the London Eye, there is a Tate Modern Gallery. If you go there upstairs, there's a cafe, and you can just buy a coffee and see kind of the same view. There's also another building there, not far from there, that you can also, I forgot the name now, but I think it's the Royal Music, whatever theater. And Art?
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, can I continue?
Yeah, I lost some of it. You're talking about the London Eye, is that right?
Yeah. So it's right next to it. There's a Tate Modern, and there's also a gallery that you can go up, buy a coffee, and you can see a beautiful view. And there's also another building there, which is, I think, the Royal Theater, Music, whatever theater. And you can also go upstairs, grab a beer, coffee, and the view is just amazing. So you really don't need to go there and spend so much money there. Definitely, like, London has a lot of free stuff to do, a lot of free museums and free attractions. The London Eye is just not a place. It's not a place you should go to.
Okay, that's good to know. I've never been to London, and I think money is always the determining factor for that. It's a place I really want to go to because of its musical history, and I do have a lot of friends there, and I do hope to make it there one day, but it still hasn't happened. Now I have a Brazilian friend of mine actually living there, so at least I won't have to pay for accommodation when I go. But now is just not a good time with COVID and everything, so maybe in the near future. So what's another thing in London that you would recommend for people to do if they don't want to go, since they shouldn't go to the London Eye?
Definitely take advantage of the free museums. So you got the British Museum, Tate Gallery, Tate Modern Art. You've also got the National Gallery, and there's so many museums. Like, what they do in London is that you can enter for free, but then there are some exhibits inside that you got to pay. Okay, but you can see a lot of beautiful things like for free. Just walk around downtown London. It's not that big, the area. And you'll see, the Buckingham Palace, the St. Paul's Cathedral. Just walk by the river. It's called the Queen's Pathway, if I'm not mistaken. You see the signs and you just walk. You see the Big Ben. You see the Shakespeare Globe Theater, all for free. So London is an expensive city, yes, but there are a lot of free attractions, free things you can do.
And how long were you there for?
I've been there more than 10 times. I've spent 2 weeks, 1 day, 5 days, a week, many times.
All right. Then I definitely want to go as soon as possible. I think it's been enough time in my life that I haven't. It's almost embarrassing as a traveler to say you've never been to London, right? So
Yeah,
I feel like I have to cross it off my list. Okay.
What's your number 3 then?
All right, my number 3. You know how in Brazil we have the rivalry like São Paulo Rio. This
Yes.
is one of the closest rivalries I've seen outside of Brazil. One of the most similar ones, and that is Melbourne Sydney. I lived in Melbourne for over a year. I absolutely love that city. It's constantly on the top of the most livable cities in the world list. Love that place to death. Very cultural. Transportation is amazing, etc. So I think you see where I'm going with this. Sydney is just kind of like the opposite of that. It's just kind of like, I've seen people call it a cultural wasteland, and I think it's very true. Like, you know, it's just some beaches. You've got Bondi Beach, pretty nice beach, nothing special. You've got some other like beaches that you can kind of go to if you take a long train or something like that. Like Manly Beach is nice, but basically, like, especially coming from Brazil, there's not any beach that you're like, wow, this is so impressive. And the transport is just not as good as it is in Melbourne. As far as tourist sites go, you have the Sydney Opera House, which is okay, beautiful architecture, but I've read that the acoustics are not that great. So people that perform there really don't like it. So the infrastructure is not that good. So it's not really serving its purpose very well. You've got the bridge there, the Harbour Bridge, which I think we all know from like the New Year's Eve settings and things like that. But also, like, not a big deal. I guess you could kind of climb on it, but not everyone wants to do that anyways. You've got some like hip neighborhoods, like the Rocks and whatnot, but also like, I mean, if you want to talk about hip neighborhoods, go to Melbourne. Like, that's the hippest place in the world. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people might disagree, but I was there in Sydney for like a week and it was fine. But I wasn't itching to go back anytime soon. Have you been?
No, I've never been to Australia. That's somewhere I want to go to. So I have many students from China who live in Sydney. They go to university there, and Melbourne as well. But yeah, so I cannot say much, but it's a country I really want to visit. But the problem is, you know, we are so far, like being in South America, like it's super far. So I I love Brandon's comment.
I like Bratislava. I really liked it. Did you like it?
I agree with Brandon. I don't like Bratislava.
I liked it. Venice, Italy. Brendan, I don't know if you've been watching this whole time, but Venice was my number 5. He doesn't seem to like a lot of places.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, I'd say if you're going to Australia, I would definitely prioritize Melbourne. And also, yeah, you mentioned it's very far, and I think that's kind of why I started traveling, because I moved from Brazil to Australia, and then I guess I just figured, well, I'm on the other side of the world, so I might as well try to see as much as I can around here. And so I started going to Southeast Asia and stuff like that, and that's when the travel bug hit me, and I just kind of haven't stopped ever since. Oh yeah, so a lot, Brendan's really sparking some controversy here in the comment section. Dubrovnik, King's Landing, would love to go there. Diarmuid said he was in Perth for 3 years. Yeah, I would really like to go to Perth, on the other end of Australia. My favorite band is from there. I love Tame Impala. They're one of my favorite bands. Gold Coast, New Zealand. Okay. Yeah, I lived in New Zealand for 2 years. Maybe we can do most underrated episode one day. We talk about all these places. So yeah, I guess that was round 3, right?
Yes.
So Edu, what is your number 2 most overrated travel destination?
It's a city. I've been there twice, and it's a city in the US. It's called Miami.
Oh, I thought for the first time we might have the same item on the list, but it's not the same one. I'm not sure how Nikki's gonna feel about Miami because I know she lived there. So let's hear it. Tell us why you think
Yeah.
Miami is overrated.
Yeah, like I was expecting like somewhere, really like somewhere really kind of chilled with like amazing parties, but also chilled, meaning that I could like spend a day at the beach and then just hop on a bus and go back to the hotel or go out for dinner and stuff. But I thought Miami is super overpriced. Um, the beaches are like not some of the beaches are nice, but again, we're from Brazil. I'm from the Northeast, like so it's nothing impressive. Um, Everything is so far in a way, and the traffic jams are like a joke, like really a joke. I stayed in downtown Miami one time. I stayed just in the outskirts of Miami. I also stayed in another place that I forgot. I think it's Coral Gables, and which is a nice area, of course. But it's just Miami Beach. It's like, gosh, like I didn't like it. Like I really didn't like it. So and it's cool to see, like in a way, I think it's a very nice place for Americans because in a way you go to a place and it's not like it kind of feels like you're not in the US, because everyone's speaking Spanish and you see, a lot of the Latino community. So I kind of felt like at home there in this sense. But I just thought it was like, okay, I feel like I'm in South America, Latin America, but paying in US dollars and it's too expensive. Like extremely expensive. So I don't. Oh, and the buses don't work. I mean, they have buses. I try to get on a bus. The bus would never come. The bus would take forever. There was no Uber when I was there, so I had to use the public taxis. And then it's all the US thing that like you pay and then you have got a tip. And Jesus, like it's super expensive. Super expensive. If I ever go back there, I'll just rent a car because it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've only been to Orlando, and this as like a child going to Universal Studios or whatever. So I've never really experienced Miami or Florida as an adult. But yeah, it's not somewhere I'm like itching to go either. To me, it seems like just a lot of men wearing neon shorts and drinking excessively. And also, like, if you want to feel like you're in Latin America, go to Latin America where you're going to pay much less to have fun. But Nikki's making some comments. I think it's kind of one of those places that you also, if you live in and you understand it a little better, maybe you can enjoy it a little more. But yeah, if I already had my doubts and you put it as if I already had my doubts and you put it as number 2, then maybe I'll reconsider next time I think about going there. But
Great, Nikki. Thanks.
Nikki has good friends there, so if you ever go back, maybe they can show you the good parts of
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. So
what's your number 2?
Yeah, my number 2 is a place that and actually I just want to say, hey, Philip. He said that he's a friend of Mike Swiggs, which is a collaborator, friend of mine as well. He has a YouTube channel called Mike Swigunski. And I'm mentioning this because, and best of luck on your move to Georgia in 2022. That sounds awesome. And he says, my 2 favorite cities to live in so far have been Budapest, Hungary, and Cape Town. Cool. So I mention this because Mike was in this city quite recently. And it's a place that I have been to. I was only there for a day because I was staying in Abu Dhabi when my cousin was living there. And she took me on a day trip to Dubai. So I have had the opportunity to go there. And I don't know, have you been there, Edu?
No, but it's definitely somewhere I want to go to, like Abu Dhabi and Dubai. I know I'm not going to be like shocked because it's not like my cup of tea, like it's not the type of place that I love history. So I like to go to places with a lot of history and, but it's a place I definitely want to go to no matter what. Like I want to visit.
Okay. So now I'm curious, like what attracts you to the idea of going to Dubai?
Because I lived in China and like when you get to Shanghai, and you see the development and the buildings and everything, you're like, oh my God, like this didn't exist 40 years ago, you know, and you see all the transformation. And I know a bit about Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and it's kind of like that. That didn't exist a couple of years ago. And now it's this, you know, super wealthy, two super wealthy cities, nation, and kind of the whole world is there. So, but what attracts me, it's more like the historical aspect, the culture, and that's why I want to travel around Latin America, hopefully, and also experience the different cultures in different countries. And I know that Abu Dhabi is more. I mean, that's what I've heard. It's more like shopping, restaurants, expensive up class shops and stuff like that. So that's not my cup of tea, but I still want to see it.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. It's just like some of the attractions, like my cousin took me to the largest shopping mall in the world. And it's like, okay, how do I enjoy this? Like when you're in there, it's just kind of looks like any other mall. And then, oh, there's the Burj Khalifa, like one of the tallest buildings in the world. And it's like, okay, it's kind of cool. There's a water show in front of it. But also extremely expensive. A lot of it, and I think mainly the thing for me is like the vibe of the place. So it's like who can show off how much money they have more, and it's just a place where I just don't feel at home, you know. And I think a lot of the ideas involved with the UAE as like they have a lot of misogyny and things like that. So it's kind of hard for me to identify with a place like that. But yeah, I'm happy I got to see it, and maybe one day I'll go back in some sort of different circumstances. But when I went, it just didn't do it for me. But granted, I was only there for a day. But also, I like it wasn't too different. Like I was in Abu Dhabi, and that I didn't really love that either. So I don't know. Maybe we'll give it another chance one day, but UAE, as of now, just wasn't for me. All right, so Brandon says Prague is a little overrated. Yeah, you know, I considered putting Prague on my list, but in the end, some places that I would like, some piazzas and stuff that I went to were really beautiful, and I kind of enjoyed my time there, so I didn't put it. Budapest was a bit overrated for me.
That's Bucharest, not Budapest.
Oh, Bucharest. Sorry, Bucharest. I definitely want to go to Romania.
Me too. I definitely want to go to Bucharest.
That's on my like priorities list for sure. Well, me and Edu have both lived in China. We know that it certainly drives you crazy sometimes, but has a lot of.
Yeah, can I say?
Yeah. Well, let's do number one first, and then we can talk about China. Is that okay?
Okay. Cool.
All right. And Abu Dhabi is where the locals live and do business. Dubai is where foreigners go to feel special. Yeah, that sounds pretty appropriate. All right, so Edu, we've reached. We're gonna have a bonus round after number one, so stick around, guys. But Edu, what is, in your eyes, apparently, the most overrated travel destination in the whole worldwide web of Earth?
Okay, before I say, can you change the round to it's still round two?
Yeah, I want to. Oh, I should have done this earlier because it says top two. Oh no.
Oh.
Okay, correct. Okay.
The top two.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be a surprise because some people wrote this in the comments.
Oh. Okay.
My number one most overrated travel destination in the world is Prague.
Prague. Okay. Yeah, I thought about putting it on the list, but I didn't. So let's hear why it is the most overrated.
When I went there, and that was about 10 years ago, when I went there, I was backpacking in Europe. So I went, I flew, I think, to Vienna. I stayed a couple of days in Vienna, and then I took a train to Bratislava. And I agree with, I don't know who said it here. I think it was Brand. Yeah, it was Brandon who said Bratislava sucks. I totally agree with him. And then I traveled by train to Budapest and then to Prague. And I'm like, listen, like, why do people talk so much about Prague? I mean, there is the Charles Bridge. There is a nice plaza, a square. Yes, but it's like a dollhouse. You got like Vienna is so beautiful. Nobody talks about Vienna. Budapest is just unbelievably beautiful. And then you get to Bratislava and Prague, and you're like, I'm not even going to say about Bratislava. I'm going to focus on Prague. It's like no, and I put it on the top one because everybody says, "Oh, Prague, oh, the Paris of the Paris of Western Europe, of Eastern Europe," and I'm like, no, like Paris is Paris. Like, don't mix things up. So yeah, definitely Prague.
Yeah.
See, can I just read what Brandon wrote, because that's the same feeling I had. He's like, Prague 3 days, was ready to go. Stayed in Budapest 2 weeks and didn't want to leave. I stayed in Budapest for like 4 days, and I was like, oh, I wish I could be here longer, because it's just unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, well, when I was in Budapest, I felt like everyone was kind of treating me like shit because I was a tourist. Like, I'd walk into a bakery and they'd treat me like crap, and I'd think like, oh, I'm sorry, I want to buy a croissant from you. Like I've really offended you. Yeah, I just didn't feel that welcomed in Budapest, and I thought a lot of those like ruin bars and things like that, like maybe cool to go once or twice, but I thought the music at some of them was pretty shit. Anyways, we're talking about Prague. I liked Prague, I guess. I didn't think it was anything special, but I thought it was kind of charming, like taking some of those trams and seeing like the river and all those a lot of historic buildings and beautiful architecture. And I don't know, maybe I went during low season and then it didn't seem that bad, but I can see why a lot of the things you are saying might be true. And I would definitely not put it on my top list of places to visit, but Mike Swigunski, our friend in common, I know he lived in Prague for many, many years and he absolutely loves it. And I think that just goes to show like this can be for like any city in the world. I think if you spend enough time in one place, you have your friends, you have good places to go, good people surrounding you, any city in the world can be great. And Prague, I'm sure can be good too. But I guess me and Edu won't be going back anytime soon.
But beer is cheaper than water there, so
that's right. Yeah,
that's a plus.
I mean, that's a pretty high plus, I must say. But maybe we can go to like where wine is cheaper than water. Yeah.
Yes, Georgia, right?
Georgia, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as Nikki said, your experience always depends on who you meet, and that's absolutely true. I've been to the crappiest of places and had, best times of my life because of people that I've met. So yeah, totally agree. All right, let's do it.
Da-da-da. What's your number one?
Drum roll, please. All right, so my number one is a place that I spent my entire childhood. Do you know where that is?
Oh no. It's in the US, right?
It is in the US. It's in California.
Oh, I think I know.
Yeah. My number one is Los Angeles, California. And I put it as number one because I think like if you consider the ratio of how much people want to go there to what they actually get, I think that's like the biggest ratio. And I mean, I lived there from when I was 3 years old to 13, so I feel like I could have been in any city in the world and it wouldn't have changed much for me. But going back and visiting my friends as an adult and stuff, I just started to realize that although some aspects of it felt like home because of all my friends and things like that, I started noticing that there was just nothing. Yeah, see you, Philip. See you next time. Thanks for watching. yeah, I felt like there was just nothing to do, and people go there, expecting to see Leonardo DiCaprio, who is, on some jet with 10 supermodels. They expect to see George Clooney, who's in Italy, um, and what do you actually do in LA? As Nikki said, like bad public transportation. The traffic is awful. The people can be stuck up. Yeah, and then like sure, you can go to Santa Monica, stroll around for half a day. You could go to Venice Beach, which honestly a lot of people might not even like because there's too many crazy people there. I like going there to people watch, but there's just not much to do in LA, and I feel like people go there like, oh, I'm gonna go to Hollywood and I'm gonna see all the stars and I'm gonna see the Hollywood sign. And no, like if you go to Hollywood, the actual neighborhood at night, first of all, it might be a little dangerous. Also, West Hollywood is like, as far as I know, I haven't been in LA for some years now, but West Hollywood's kind of like the gay area, which is cool. But I would, yeah, like I think people go there with an expectation, and those expectations definitely aren't met. So I'd be curious to know if you've been there.
No, I've been to the US like I think 4 or 5 times, but it was mainly like Miami and then Orlando, just like you for like Disneyland when I was a kid. And then as an adult as well, I went back to Orlando and then I went to New York. So that was it. I want to go to the West Coast, but yeah, like I've heard about LA. I've heard everything that you said here. I heard about LA too. But yeah, I want to see it, but I will go with low expectations. It's better.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why someone would want to go at least once in their life, and I think they should. But I wouldn't spend too much time there, and I would definitely, try to fill in my days with. I mean, I was gonna say try to do as many things as possible in one day, but that's not possible either because sometimes it takes you like hours to go from one end of the city to the other end. So yeah, it's kind of a lose-lose in that place, really. But all right, that was fun to do. Thank you for giving me your 5 overrated travel destinations. Seems like we have some questions here from Medo. Where to relocate with my small family to study, live, and work? Estonia, Czech Republic, or Georgia? Well, neither Edu or I have a family of our own, so I don't think that our advice would be very qualified. But I've been to those 3 places, and seeing as you have a family, I would say the cheapest one of them is probably Georgia. So you could probably get more bang for your buck in Georgia, maybe live in a nicer house, pay cheaper rent. That's my advice. I don't know. Edu, any ideas?
Well, not really, because I've never been to Estonia. I've never been to Georgia. I've been to the Czech Republic, but it just won the number one most overrated. Right? So I'm like, sorry, I cannot help much. Yeah, I cannot help much. I'm sorry.
Okay, and is this surviving Tennessee, I wonder? Let me know. It says California in general has gone way downhill. Yeah, and I think it kind of has. And I'm glad they said this because I was reminded of something I wanted to say about California, which is if spend more time in San Francisco. Maybe I feel like there's a lot more things to do in San Francisco, and not far from San Francisco, you can go to Napa Valley, which is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. Amazing wine, amazing food. So you should, yeah, man, go drink some water. It's all good. All right, so I feel like you should go to San Francisco, and also maybe more of a California vibe down in Monterey. I feel like, and even San Diego for a few days. I wouldn't spend too much time in San Diego, but that could be interesting for someone going to California for the first time. And Nikki says your money goes further in Georgia. It's more affordable, and you can get very big apartments. Yeah, pretty safe. Yeah, so there you go, Medo. consider going to Georgia. If you're not familiar with my channel, I have many videos about Georgia, so you can go in there and see what you think. And now, Edu, I would like to have a bonus round if you have the time.
Sure.
Okay. You mentioned Disneyland, right?
Oh, yeah.
At some point you mentioned it. And as a Brazilian, I'm embarrassed to say that a lot of Brazilians save up money all year to go to Disneyland. And I will never understand this. Do you know why?
Yes, I know why. And it's not only in Brazil, actually. I saw the same thing happen in Argentina with the teenagers there and in Uruguay as well. So I don't know if it's the Latin American thing, but it's not only in Brazil. It's like in other countries as well. Yeah, like why? What do you want to say? Like you think Disney is overrated?
Well, yeah, so these are all these are kind of like honorable mentions. So I thought about putting Disneyland on, but honestly, I didn't even want it to be on the list because I disregard it so much. But
yes,
yeah, what are your thoughts on Disneyland? Would you go? Have you been?
Okay, so here's the thing. There is Disney World, which is in Orlando, okay? And there is Disneyland in California. I've been to Disneyland in Shanghai, okay? So, and I've been to Disney World in Orlando. Here's the thing. As an adult, like, it wasn't that fun. The food there was super expensive. Everything is kind of overpriced. You can bring your food, when you walk in and stuff. But as a kid, when I was 12 years old, my mom took me to Disney World in Orlando. And we went to not only Disney World, but the other theme parks, And honestly, it's still unforgettable. I understand why my mother really wanted to do that, because as a kid, it is unforgettable. Like, it was one of the best trips of my life. And it was the first time I ever left the country. And I got there and it's just like a dream. And then you come back home and you're like, okay, that was a dream, when you're 12 years old. So I that's the appeal it has. My brother did the same. My brother went when he was 13 with his friends. However, I do understand that as an adult, it's kind of different when you see things like, oh, come on,
well,
that's a
I
rip.
think that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand everything you said about being a kid and wanting to go to Disneyland and whatever, but I know a lot of adults that have been to Disneyland 15 times in their adult life. And they don't go anywhere else. Like, you have the money to go anywhere in the world and you keep going to Disneyland. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So there's some weird obsession that I don't understand. But all right, so that was my honorable mention. And Edu lived in China for how many years?
4.5.
4.5 years, right? Because COVID kind of screwed that up for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of want to talk about you talked a little about Shanghai. When I was in China and I lived in Hangzhou, Shanghai for me was always nice to go to because it was kind of an escape from Hangzhou where things were a little more traditional. I could go to Shanghai, speak some English, go to some kind of Western style restaurants and things like that. But I did see it on some lists as not having too much personality because it's been so westernized. And yeah, I'm sure you've been there many times, so I would like to know your opinion on that.
Sure. I think that's right about Shanghai, kind of. And yeah, I've always, you mentioned Melbourne and Sydney, the rivalry, just like Rio and Sao Paulo. There is a rivalry between Shanghai and Beijing as well. So I am team Beijing, totally. I think Beijing is just really nice. You can still get, traditional, Chinese culture and stuff. Shanghai is the most modern city. And it's where most expats are. It's where most foreigners, who live in China live. It's there, and I think it's a very interesting place to visit. I visited 3 or 4 times, I think. But as you said, I went there, spent a weekend, did all the Western stuff that I wanted to do. Went to Shanghai Disneyland one of the times, and then came back to my city. I think China it's very difficult to understand China. somebody said here that he didn't like living in China and stuff, and I told him because it's too crazy, and that's it. China is too crazy, yeah, and that's what's exciting, I would say. At the same time, spending almost 5 years there, I really felt like I was going nuts. I wanted to leave. It was time. It was time to leave. So China is great, but not for everyone, I'd say.
Yeah, totally agree. I certainly had my highs and lows there as well, and I made the. I guess it's kind of a mistake because now I've learned that I spent New Year's Eve in Shanghai, and now I've learned that there's all these parties on like rooftops and things like that, and that's where you're supposed to go, because the masses spend New Year's Eve at the bunch, right? That the area by the river and whatnot. And the masses in China are quite big. And I'm just glad there was no COVID at that time, because that was certainly one of the most claustrophobic experiences of my life. And then it was kind of too late, so you couldn't get tickets to go to the cool parties. And I ended up like spending New Year's Eve at some random bar, and it wasn't all that fun. But yeah, I'd go back to Shanghai, and I'd like to explore Beijing a little more too. But as Nikki said, China's crazy. Also interesting. Almost 100 ethnic minorities and really diverse. And this was very sweet. Proposed to my wife 35 years ago at Disneyland while riding in a boat, and it's a small world.
Oh,
And if there's ever a way to propose, that's how you do it. Now,
so cool.
Now what I'm thinking is, like, were you able to get down on your knees on the boat? Because is that allowed? Is it dangerous? Did you potentially fall off the boat? Let's hear more about this. I did not care for the food in China. What do you think, Edu?
That's the thing. Chinese food is totally different from Western Chinese food. So I love Western Chinese food, like the food we get here in Brazil and, the US, Europe. But then the food in China, it's a bit too spicy for me. There's a lot of deep fried things, and I'm really not into that. Like, so it's not. I mean, I did like the food, okay, but it's not like. I think I prefer Western Chinese food, to be very honest.
Yeah, I love Western Chinese food. I love me some, orange flavored chicken and things like that.
Yeah.
And I can't eat spicy food. And I think China was one of the only places I've ever, because if I eat very spicy food, I get like hiccup attacks. That was one of the only places that I had like a really severe one, eating like street food there. Yeah, and also at the time I was living with a vegetarian, so that made things kind of difficult as well in China. So I guess my experience was a little different but there are. Do you like the stinky tofu?
No, I tried it, but no, it's not my thing. But I just want to say something. Just comment on what Nikki just wrote there. I totally agree with her. Guys, China is like, I am from a very large country. Like, I know Brazil, just like if you're in the US, it's a huge country, and China is also huge, massive. So they actually have 8 different cuisines in China. Okay, so it's like the Guangzhou, it's the Cantonese cuisine. I love almost everything. For example, you have the Sichuan cuisine, which is super spicy. So I tried as well, but then I don't like very spicy food. But then you have the North cuisine, the cuisine of Beijing, like the Beijing duck, which is really typical there. So what Nikki is saying is right. I loved Chinese food, but not everything. It depends on the region. I love the Guangzhou food. I love the Beijing area food. But then where I was in the south, it was still a bit too spicy, even though it was not very spicy, But still, I like the food. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that, to eat every day, it's very unhealthy for me because I cannot eat deep fried every single day, and very spicy food every single day because, I just can't. That's the only reason why.
We're getting to that age, Edu, where we have to rethink our eating habits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt again.
Okay.
That was my favorite cuisine, the Uyghur Muslim food. So
Yeah.
in China, they're we call them the Muslim restaurants, and they're like all over the country. And they have the barbecue, so they have lamb on a stick selling on like it's street food. You know, you pay 5 yuan with some beer, and it's just like, gosh, like it's the best lamb you've ever tried. Like, and also the Muslim restaurants, they're super cheap, and the food, the soup, everything comes with a mini soup. I really miss that. You're right.
I didn't get to try that, but maybe when I go back. Um, and so like you said, I did get down on my knee with two very large Samoan women sitting in front of me laughing. Yeah, I mean, it must have been quite a sight, but it seems like it all turned out okay. 35 years later, here we are. Edu, was there any city that you want to mention as an honorable mention or something like that?
When I was making this list, there were other places, but to be very honest, there were more like tourist attractions. I would say, like surviving Tennessee Road. I love Vietnam, and yes, like I'm so in love with Vietnam, and I really want to go back there. So when I was making the list, I was thinking that there are more underrated places like Vietnam than overrated places. You know, so
Yeah.
Vienna, Vietnam, and there are so many other places. And like Vietnam is a very good example because sometimes, like in Southeast Asia, there's Thailand, Philippines, but then nobody talks a lot about Vietnam. I mean, at least not here. And it's just the cuisine, the people, the tourist attractions, the history. It's amazing. Like, and the people are so friendly. Even if they can speak English, they're super friendly. So actually, Art, I thought more about like underrated than
Yeah.
overrated.
Yeah, I feel like it is kind of easier to make an underrated list because as I said, I've been to really terrible places and had fun because of the people that I was with, and so you can make a positive situation out of any negative geographical location. Um, I wanted to ask you because we're both Brazilian, and I've seen Rio on some lists, and I disagree. I don't think it's overrated. I like it. I know Brazil is huge. There are so many amazing places to go to, amazing beaches. I know where you live, which I haven't been yet. I hope you'll invite me one day.
Of
Um,
course.
is also beautiful. But what do you think of Rio?
I've been to Rio 3 times, and the funny thing is that when I was 20 years old, I went backpacking in Europe, and then after that, I visited Rio. Okay, so I went to Europe before going to Rio, and I was just shocked with the beauty of the city. Like, I understand why the cariocas, the people who are the locals in Rio, they are really like proud of their city, and they think their city is the most beautiful in the world. And sometimes it's kind of obnoxious, to be very honest, but they've got a point because there is no place in the world like Rio. I've never seen anything like that. And of course, Rio's got its problems. It's true. It's not the safest place in the world. You got to be careful, watch out and stuff. But it's also not the most dangerous place in the world. So if you got a chance, go to Rio, and see it for yourself because it is just amazing. Like there's like the view you see from the Christ, and you look down and you're like, I can't believe this is true. The sugar loaf, you know.
Yeah.
It's just out of this world, and the people are beautiful. The food is really good. The bar culture there is just amazing. The nightlife. So yeah, I definitely recommend Rio.
Yeah, it all boils down to what you said. Like, there's no place on earth like Rio, and when you're there, you feel that. When you're walking down the streets and you're seeing all the landscapes and the Christ the Redeemer up there and everything, you feel that special energy. And like sometimes when I haven't been to Rio in a few years, I'm like, oh, I don't feel like going that much. But then when I get there, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I came because like when you get there, it just feels really special, and then you kind of don't want to leave. Like you want to stay there for as long as possible. So I'm glad we agree on that. Um, Edu, can you tell us a little about what you do over on Ready Go Expat, your YouTube channel?
Sure. I try to post videos with like different perspectives. So about the same place, but also different people living in different cities all over the world. That's the idea of the channel. So you can go, just type "Ready Go Expat" on YouTube. You'll find my channel. But yeah, it's basically that. I think that after I lived in China, I was like, I can't believe all of this was happening here in China. I met people from literally all over the world in China. A lot of people from Nigeria, Ghana, India, Pakistan, Jordan, Syria, and I got to know their culture, and their stories, and their cultural background. And I was like, I need to show this to the world. People need to listen about China, about India, what's happening in India, the industry there, also about Cape Verde, about Ghana, about Zambia, Zimbabwe, all of these countries that are so beautiful. And they're so. So I said that when I left, actually, just before leaving China, I started the channel. So I interviewed friends there. And right now I'm still posting videos about different countries and living in different cities all over the world. And that's kind of the same what I do with the podcast, Expats Exposed. So if you want to just listen instead of watching a video, just listen for a longer, 30, 40 minutes of each episode. You can listen to people talking about living in different cities. So today is actually the beginning of season 2. I just uploaded an episode, and it is about listening to 7 different people talking about what the post-pandemic world will be like. So I think it's super interesting to listen to these different people discussing the same topic.
Awesome. I'm going to jump on that as soon as we finish here because I love listening to your podcast. What are you going to start working on? What's the next thing you're going to release? Is it for the channel? Is it for the podcast?
Yeah, the podcast, actually, I decided to do something a bit different for the second season. I will release an episode every Friday, okay? And then, thank you, Surviving Tennessee. Thank you very much. I'll check yours as well. I will release an episode every Friday, Saturday. But then on Wednesday, I want to upload like a short episode, like 7 minutes, 5 minutes or something. Because Art, I think you go through the same thing. Like you live alone now and you spend a lot of time alone and we start talking to each other, and there are these questions like, oh my God, being a digital nomad, which is your case, being a digital nomad is cool, but it sucks sometimes, right? And then you start thinking about, right? And then that I have these thoughts and I start writing down, I just get my notebook and I'm like writing down. I'm like, I'm going to post a short episode. So every Wednesday, there's going to be a short episode. And the first one is going to be football unites the world, because football, soccer, because it's interesting because I've been teaching online the last 3 months. My students are from literally all over the world, and everyone talks about the Euro Cup. It's amazing. I got students in Syria, Iraq, Israel, the US, Mexico, and everyone is talking about the Euro Cup right now. And it's just what other things can you think of? I'm asking you this, Art. What other things can you think of apart from attacks, natural disasters, like the bad thing? What other events in the world actually is global, unites the whole world? What do you think? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is maybe music festivals or something like that, but football is definitely up there. Yeah, and this Euro Cup has been getting a lot of attention. Who are you rooting for in the final?
Definitely England, because as I mentioned here, I got a lot of friends there, and they haven't won anything in many years, and I think
I hope they win. So I'm kind of rooting for them too, even though it kind of pains me a little. But I was just upset because that penalty in the last game was not very fair. The guy kind of threw himself on the ground. But
football is not fair. Soccer is not fair. Come on.
Yeah. Speaking of soccer, I'm gonna. Oh, Nicky's rooting for Italy, of course. Forza Italia, she said.
They're playing really well. I think Italy might win, to be very honest. But I was rooting for Portugal, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, here in Albania, a lot of them feel Italian. You know, they have Italian mothers, Italian grandmothers, grandfathers, fathers. A lot of people speak Italian here, so there's a big Italian culture here. So I think it's going to be a really big party if Italy wins. And I don't know that I'll partake in it because I'm just trying to not spend so much money and drink a little less. But I'm sure there's enough English people here to have a party as well if England wins. So we'll just see what happens tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah.
And tonight, sorry, tonight is the final it's the Copa America final.
That's right.
So we got Brazil and Argentina. It's going to be a really great match.
I can't watch it because it's in the middle of the night for me. But I don't really care because let's not get into politics here. But a lot of people that don't like the current Brazilian government and Bolsonaro also are not rooting for Brazil that much. So,
but that's
anyways, it'll be a good game to watch.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to add something. I think that's the beauty of sports. You know, it's like it's not about the politics of it. Of course, unfortunately, sometimes it's together. Like you can dissociate, put two things apart. But that's what I love about the Olympics. That's what I love about the World Cup. That's what I love about sports in general. You know, it's that it's not about the politics of the country. You might hate the president, but I mean, I'm Brazilian. I'm never going to support Argentina and against Brazil. Like, come on, you know? Like,
yeah, but I guess there's two sides because the Brazilian national team is such a huge platform, and I feel like the players have an opportunity to make their voices heard against injustice and things like that, and they don't always take that opportunity. So that's what kind of upsets me.
I disagree with you, but I'm not gonna go there. Okay. I'm not gonna get into that. Okay.
Let's not. Okay. Well, so let's just recap our cities. Okay. So for number 5, you said
Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
That's right, Madame Tussauds. And I said Venice, Italy. For number 4, you said
Bangkok, Thailand.
Bangkok, and I said Brussels, Belgium. These are the most overrated travel destinations. For number 3, Edu said
the London Eye, you know, the Ferris wheel in London.
Okay, and I said Sydney, Australia. Go to Melbourne instead. Number 2 for Edu.
Miami.
Bienvenido a Miami. Yeah, I said Dubai, and that's Will Smith, I think, right?
No, I was just gonna say Pitbull. Pitbull loves Miami. He's
right? Mr. Worldwide though. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
Number 1 for you?
Prague.
All right. So mine was LA. I think I will be going to LA before you go back to Prague, maybe. I don't know. I don't have any plans. Well, I don't know. I have friends there. It could happen. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up there. So.
Cool. Interesting. Yeah.
Every now and again, I like to try and go see some people. But will you ever go back to Prague?
Yeah, I will. I have friends there. It's a nice city. It's just like I don't understand, you know, all the hype because it's nice, but it's just not all of that.
Yeah, and I think. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say about Nikki. You posted there. Yeah, 305 is the area code of Miami. So he's like 305. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Pitbull.
And just to sum up what we talked about today, I like what you said. Like, it's more about the hype. Like, a lot of places are nice, but they're not like must go, must see, and that's the impression that we get a lot of the time when people talk about these travel destinations. But it's just the world we live in, Edu. We're gonna have to accept it.
Sure, it's true.
I want to thank you so much for being on the live stream today. It was a real pleasure. You're my first guest that's not right next to me like Nikki has been. So couldn't have thought of anyone better.
My pleasure. I want to invite you now live so that you can't say no.
So I'll have to stick to it?
Yes, you have to do the same thing for my channel now. I've never done a live before, but I think that's a great idea.
Time. I think it's it's past the time.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I'm ready. You You know where to find me.
Yes, sure.
There is Albania. All right. I want to thank everyone else for being here, Surviving Tennessee. Thank you so much, Made,
Thank
Nikki,
you.
of course. And yeah, go check out Edu's channel, Ready Go Expat, and his podcast, Expats Exposed. Can't wait for the next Albanian videos. Thank you so much. So the next one is actually a lesson in minimalism as a traveler. I attempted to put on all my clothes, and I may have done it, I may not have done it. I did have some struggles. That should come out around Tuesday. And then I'll be making some videos in Vlore, which is like the Rio de Janeiro of Albania. That's where I'm going to on Monday. Yeah, I'm going to be spending a month there. So I'm going there on Monday, and it should be a good time. So thank you so much, Edu.
Thank you. Thank you,
Hope to
too.
speak to you soon.
Same here, same here.
Thank
Have a great
you so
day.
much, everyone, for being here. Beijos. Love.
Bye.
See you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.